Hey, Angel 13, I got your response, and I just want to say thanks a lot for being very cordial in your response to me. And I watched just one other of your videos, and I saw that you said you talked with other Christians and that you had dialogue with other theists, and it almost seemed like you were exhausted from banging your head up against the wall talking to those other folks. And so on behalf of Christians and theists everywhere, I just want to apologize for any ridiculousness you might have had to put up with before. But hopefully my desire is actually to have some sort of a decent dialogue with you. I'd love to you mentioned in your video response to the one that I put out there, you said that that I was already really strong on my beliefs, and so there was no real sense in you trying to explain to me what you believe, because I'd already been concrete, already set in stone, what I believed. And I just want to let you know that it's not my purpose to try to ridicule, as I said in my other video. It's not my purpose to try to belittle any atheist or anybody that believes different than I do on any particular subject. But really, it is my desire to learn. I do want to learn. I want to know what atheists believe, and as I said in my other video, I know that all atheists may not believe exactly the same thing. I realize that there might be different ideologies, even in atheists who might believe very closely together. They may have big differences in other things, in other situations. So again, just because I feel strongly or believe strongly about the things, the evidence that I've looked at and come to my conclusions, just because my conclusions have already been set in a particular area, doesn't mean that they're not able to move. It doesn't mean that I'm not willing to look at evidence and then come to new conclusions. I'm not opposed to that at all. In fact, it's my desire to find out what truth is. I love to find out what truth is, and I'd like to go wherever the evidence would take me. So whether that keeps me in the beliefs that I have, if that moves me to another area, I'm completely open to any of those things. Though I do feel strongly about the ideas and the opinions that I have up to this point. I feel like I've looked at evidence, and I feel like that I've come to a decent conclusion. But I'm not opposed to moving that conclusion. So just because I feel strongly about what I believe doesn't mean that I'm not willing or even open to alternatives. You made a couple of you asked a couple of questions during your video response, and several of the questions that you asked, you only asked just a few, and so the questions that you did ask, though, were on quite a few different topics. You mentioned where is God, and you said that it was pretty clever that that theists say that God is outside of time and space and matter, and so it's very convenient for us to say that, because how do we know what's outside of time and space and matter? Good question. Also, you mentioned that God has been silent since He supposedly created mankind, and He's been silent from that point forward. And actually, I'd like to say that I differ with you on that belief. I don't think God has been silent. In fact, I think that He's been extremely vocal, and I agree with you actually that today that people that say that they hear voices or they think God spoke to them, that I think in most of those cases those people really are ludicrous in what they think. They think they hear voices and things like that. I'm completely there with you that that's kind of an idiotic thing to say, but I do believe that God does speak to us. He speaks to us today, I believe, and I believe He's spoken in the past. I believe that He's not been silent, but I think He's been extremely. It's been incredible that a God that exists, that I believe that the God exists, more powerful than any being that we could imagine, that exists outside of time and space and matter. Though He's able to somehow miraculously communicate with us His creation inside of time and space and matter. So I think it's a really incredible thing that God is able to do, and I'd love to dialogue with you more about where I think God has actually not been silent, but actually communicated with us in great ways. But also, you asked the question, what's the real sacrifice of Jesus, supposedly God's Son, who died on a cross, but who was raised from the dead just a short time later? What's His real sacrifice if God dies just to be raised from the dead? A great question, and one that I'd love to talk about more if you'd like to listen. And then your last question was, and this is the one I'd like to maybe just get to really quickly on the end of my video here, was if we're all born atheists, if God were so powerful, why wouldn't He cause us to be able to know that He existed straight from birth? And that is a great question. I'd love to address that one in this video here, and maybe in others I'd love to get to the other questions that you asked. But this one is a great one. Every single one of us, I agree with you, we're all born atheists. And I think the reason for that is is because no one likes to be accountable. No one likes to, I know I don't. I don't want to be accountable for the things that I've done or the things that I do or the things that I will do tomorrow. I don't want to have to answer to someone. It's much more convenient for me just to simply make choices as I want to make choices or as I see fit to make them in the moment. It's much easier to simply go by the whim of my emotions at the moment. It's much easier to be upset when someone cuts me off in traffic. It's much easier to lie or cheat or try to manipulate things to benefit myself in a good way. It's much easier to do those things. It's much more difficult to do the right thing even when it's not the popular thing. It's much more difficult to do what I believe that God tells me is the right thing to do in His Bible. And I know that you don't like people quoting from the Bible, so I won't do that. But I believe that in the Bible that God gives us laws and rules and regulations to live by, and I believe He's written those on our hearts as well. And so though I know that lying is wrong, it's much easier to lie in certain circumstances. It's much easier to not worship God and to simply live by what I want to do or to live by what I see fit. And so I believe that is exactly why we're born atheists. Not only born atheists, but I think that that's actually why we have a propensity, an inclination to be atheists at our very core, because we ultimately don't really want to answer for the life that we've lived, the things that we've done, the things that we knew we shouldn't have done that we did anyway, the things that we knew we should have done but we didn't do it for whatever reason. We don't want to be held accountable for those things. And so I think that all of us are born atheists, and the reason I think that why all of us have the inclination to wish there were no God or to try to believe that there is no God that exists is because we don't, and I'm included in that crowd, that we don't want to be accountable. But I think at the end of the day, my conscience convicts me and lets me know that there are good things and that there are bad things that I can do. There are right things and there are wrong things. And I think at the very end of the day, I have to go, man, I know that there's things that are right to do. I know that there's things that are wrong to do. And I have this desire to do the wrong thing because it would benefit me better. But I know the right thing is what I should do, and why is that there? If I'm not going to be accountable for that right or wrong decision, then why is anything right or wrong? If there's no consequence to the wrong decision, if there's no result of the right decision, then really the right and wrong decision are just decisions. There is no right or wrong decision if there's not an ultimate consequence to that right or wrong decision. That's my answer to you, and as I said, I'd love to talk more about these other ones. And again, please know that my intention is to have an open dialogue with you and any other atheists who'd like to reply to any of my videos. That's exactly what I'd like to do, and I'd like to have cordial discussions back and forth. This is exactly why I wanted to get on the YouTube website and exactly why I wanted to send these videos back and forth. So thanks again for your reply to my video, and gosh, I really look forward to any of the responses that you might send from this point forward. And thanks a lot again for being very cordial with your response to me earlier. Appreciate your input, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. And again, I'll get these other videos on as quickly as I can about trying to answer those other questions. Thanks again. Talk to you later.